tried to jump off the tractor to get away, but he didn't get to safety, and the tractor toppled over on top of him.
To some of you, the newspaper is nothing but words on paper. Many of us don't even read it or acknowledge the stories that it holds. My family holds one story in particular very close. As Connie Days unfolds how one newspaper article, which was written over 75 years ago, gave her an insight on a family tragedy and how it affected everyone that was involved.
I actually found this article when I was going through my parents' things after they both passed away. And the article reads, "Farmers crushed as the tractor upsets." A Summit County farmer was crushed to death Friday afternoon when a farm tractor he was driving toppled on him as he helped his sons clear land for a new home. Dead is John Nider of Sand Run Road before the horrified eyes of his two sons. The ton-and-a-half machine overturned, pinning his head beneath one of the wheels. The sons rushed to their father's aid but were unable to lift the huge tractor. They called for help from a farmer nearby plowing in a field. So, the neighbor came and stayed with him until my father and his brother ran home for help, and they tried to get a jack to lift the tractor up and free him, but he was pronounced dead at the hospital. So this article was pretty graphic in its telling, but it also gave me a lot of clarity as to why this was never discussed at home.
After hearing the specifics of the story, how did finding this article affect you personally?
Well, I feel like now I have a better understanding of my father's family, maybe why my uncle moved his family to Maine. I think it was hard for him to be around this area and all the remembrance of what happened, and his tremendous guilt for possibly causing the accident, because it was his home that was going to be built there, and that's what they were working on at the time. I feel like that's why my aunt never married and had a family of her own, because she felt responsible for taking care of my grandmother, who was pretty fragile, both physically and emotionally. She experienced a lot of loss in her lifetime. She lost her mother and her twin sister to the influenza when she was a teenager back in the 1900s, early 1900s. And then she became a widow at a pretty early age, and she just felt like she needed to be taken care of by somebody else. And I think my aunt felt an overwhelming responsibility to be that caretaker for her. And then my father, I guess I understand the pain that he experienced witnessing the death of his father. He never discussed it, but when we went to the funeral home to make arrangements when my aunt passed away, we were picking out her casket, my father broke down for the first time that I remember in his life, and said that the last time he had to do that was when he had to pick his own father's casket out. And he just broke down and sobbed, and it was a very sombering moment to realize that he had kept in all this pain all these years and didn't talk about it. I also gained a deeper respect for my father through this, as he continued to farm all of his life. He rode tractors every day, he was around farm equipment, and I can't imagine the memory of this tragedy being in the forefront of his mind probably all the time, since he was riding tractors and he decided to continue that farming legacy.
Technology today has come a long way since when this article was written. Despite the form of the media, it can still have a big impact on whoever's reading it. I want to thank Connie for sharing such a personal family story with us.